A court in the great state of Delaware, will decide how great it is momentarily, has gone ahead and rescinded Elon's compensation plan because, of course, uh, millions of shareholders don't matter as much as one very excited judge. So, who better to talk about this than Tesla Boomer Mama, Larry Goldberg, Jeff Lutz, and all the others are not available. So I got the next best thing. Herbert is joining me today. He had a chance just yesterday to chat with all these people and figure out, hey, what's going on with all that? So we're going to get all that knowledge from him. I'm Brian. Welcome to My Tesla Weekend. Herbert, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
You had one heck of a show yesterday. You managed to get Sawyer and just everybody on there to share their thoughts. And Larry was quite a resource. Alexandra was I mean, they all were. But so first of all, tell us what went wrong. What hinges this legal argument in the first place?
Okay. Well, so the I think the language that the judge used was specifically. Let's take a quick look here. The process for coming up with Elon's compensation plan was independent because wasn't independent because Elon controlled the board and the directors who approved the plan weren't truly independent. And then she said the shareholders who approved the comp plan weren't made aware of this controlled relationship. Hence, the $55.8 billion comp plan is voided. It's rescinded. Now what? Tesla can either appeal the decision. So she basically, explained a little bit of what this means, or they can come up with an alternate 2018 comp package. So the biggest impact to Tesla is the uncertainty. Now everybody's trying to go, what's going on? What's going on? But as the day went on and as we learned more, I had a lawyer come on board. They point out a few things. So the first thing is that this is just rescinded. It's just rescinded is different from like there was no financial judgment that required Tesla to pay money or Elon to do anything. It just simply meant that whatever they decided to in a comp plan was no longer valid, and they can redo it. They can recreate that plan, and then what they need to do is just communicate that the board is not controlled by Elon, or that maybe they will. They'll say that the board. I'm a friend with Ira, who's in charge of the compensation committee. Those kind of things. They can do those things. But there is a thought now that maybe that's all they need to do. They just need to redo the same comp plan and then have the shareholders vote on it again, but this time have all the proper statements included in that. That's one option. The other option is, people are saying that, well, Elon's not, he's not going to accept it, right? Because you're not going to be able to tell Elon, and who believes it, that the shareholders were duped. So I think the numbers were 83% of shareholders voted in favor of this compensation plan. If you remove Elon and Kimball, it's 71% voted for this. And so it was ridiculous that this was a well accepted plan voted by shareholders, and yet they're saying that the shareholders were duped somehow. So Elon may not allow this, and so he's going to file an appeal. Number one. Yesterday, many of his tweets after this judgment came down were all about never start to incorporate a company in Delaware. Maybe, and he did a poll, should we reincorporate in Texas? So they'll likely appeal this. And then the question I've got for people is, do they need to first reincorporate in Texas first and then do the new comp plan? Or can they just go ahead and do a new comp plan now? And then the comp plan now could actually be not just the 2018 one. It could go ahead and include the new version of the next 10 years and include his request to have more voting power up to 25% so that he can make sure that robotics AI doesn't go haywire. So it's going to be interesting, right? Somebody made a comment yesterday, which I thought was funny. The best comp plan is no comp plan.
I did see that one. I did see that
And
one.
and the funny thing too is that how things ironically can happen. This is so ironic that McCormick, the judge, does this in protection of the shareholders, but in fact she's damaging shareholders more But in the same way, it could be ironic that because she did this, it clears the way for Elon to be able to and Tesla to create a comp plan that that has his what he desires to be more. Others are saying that no, it's going to be the opposite. It's going to be much harder for Elon to now require this from the 700 billion, 600 billion market cap of the company to 10 trillion. It's going to be a lot harder because of this judgment. So
I
that's the
heard
summary. Yep.
Larry saying that yesterday. The law of large numbers. Once you're in numbers this big, it
Yeah.
does get harder to grow. So what I would point out, the judge made, in my opinion, a gross error in calling this compensation plan outrageous. It's outrageous.
Yeah.
It's much too big. Is it? Because as James Stevenson pointed out, at I cannot underscore enough, he said, no, the plan was if you hit all these impossible
Mm-hmm.
milestones, Elon has the right to purchase shares at the value when the plan was signed. They're not giving him anything. They're letting him buy things at that rate. It actually is going to result in net cash in for Tesla, but some shareholder dilution as new shares are created. And it's not 55 billion. If we looked a year ago, you'd have said it's 100 billion. Of course you throw that out 2 years ago. No, it was like 2.3 billion. And we're talking 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. That's 7 years for 2 billion. That's only 300 million a year. That's still a lot, but it's not crazy compared to what other CEOs at in the very top brackets make, and those guys get it without a risk of getting $0. And if this vacation of the comp plan were to stand, that means that for the last 6 years, Elon's pay has been zero, which is also outrageous. I, like many other shareholders, purchased my shares after this comp plan was signed. I could
Yeah.
not be duped. It was already in place. And I even said to my wife, look, this is a ridiculous. If he gets these outrageous numbers, it means we get to pay off the house. You know.
Yeah.
So
So somebody pointed it out that at that time when this comp plan was issued or announced, Tesla stock price was $17 to today's, like adjusted today's numbers. And so it was crazy that this is not duping shareholders when us shareholders saw the stock at least doubled or 10x or 20x. Now there's two parts to what her ruling was talking about, right? The first part I just read out, which is this thing where, well, the problem was that Elon controlled the board, and it was unfair that they didn't communicate that to the shareholders. So that's one part. The second part was apparently somewhere in the language she did talk about how this was an outrageous plan. It was too lucrative for Elon, which it doesn't stand. That will not stand. That part there clearly won't stand. You've got video of almost all the mainstream media laughing at this comp plan, saying it was ridiculously impossible, will never happen. This is psycho. And like you pointed out, it's not like he was given anything. It's like you only get this if this market cap of the company rises to these different milestones, and not just the market cap of the company. You have to have profitability numbers there too. Revenue and margin have to hit certain numbers. So that part of it won't fly at all. And there's nobody here who believes that part of it will succeed. It really is just this kind of like technicalities of how she believed that it was communicated. That Elon did control the board. That's still up for debate, but is the board members all under his puppet kind of control? And then B, did they communicate that to the shareholders? So this could very well be very easily resolved. And I think the vast majority of people are saying that that's the case. The other thing is not only like the lawyers that we talked to yesterday. There was one lawyer who joined us, and he gave a lot of great commentary on this. But also we had Dan Ives join us on the space as well. Dan Ives is a well-known institutional investor from Wedbush. He's frequently up on the being shown on CNBC and others, and he said this is a nothing burger. He's not worried about it at all. In fact, his tweet was the opposite. What we were saying earlier, that in fact this is going to be really good because now it clears the way for Tesla to go ahead and fix this and then create the new one And then he's been talking to all other institutional analysts, and they reacted, and he's telling them this is nothing. And you can see that the stock price fell only by 3% yesterday, post market, and then today it's actually, I believe, recovering and then grow and actually rising. So it turned out to be not as bad as most people think.
The market was very irrational in their immediate reaction after hours when the verdict was handed down. I did see someone say this is pure market manipulation. Why would they release it after market? I said, no, no, no. That's
Yeah.
the opposite. They
Yeah.
release it after market, but the market is irrational. At worst, the worst case scenario is that this stands and a whole lot of money that had been counted as expenses gets added back in, and there are fewer shares by which to divide the market. That's the worst case. The worst case scenario is still a very good case. So let's not worry about that. Another claim I'd seen was that, well, that board, oh, they're so unqualified. They clearly wouldn't have, they couldn't even serve as board of directors at another company because they're just Elon's friends. So I looked them up one by one and found that's not true. These are CEOs, these are people with decades of experience in finance and manufacture. These are, it was a, it's a well qualified board. You could argue that they're not sufficiently arm's length, but go ahead.
Yeah. That's the rub, right? The rub is, are these independent board members or not? And so the question I've been asking is, do you think that Tesla will now have to either A, completely change the board members, or B, at least change who is in the commission? Ira has been leading this, and we've been debating this and all that. I think most people believe that it's not in Tesla's or Elon's kind of nature to listen to a judge and say you're right, and I'm going to go ahead and change the board members. That's very, very unlikely that will happen. So the most likely thing will be they'll remove Ira. They'll place somebody different in charge of that, who's more of an independent board. They're going to make it very clear that Elon did not have a way to influence the creation of the comp plan. And then they'll just communicate and say, yeah, Elon's brother is Kimball, and Elon's friends with Ira, and, just be very, very clear about those relationships. And guess what? The shareholders will vote, and they will vote perfectly, redo this whole vote, and it'll be just fine. It'll be fine.
Now, I haven't read the full 200-page verdict, but what I did see repeatedly was this thing saying the board said that they hired an independent party to help devise the plan, but the board is not independent. And when I read that, I think, right, the board doesn't have to be independent to hire someone who is. Am I missing something there? Am I
Mm-hmm.
crazy? And I think the answer is I am definitely crazy, but that's not why. So, do you have any thoughts on that, or is it
Yeah, I
too
mean, I
soon to
think
tell?
haven't confirmed this, but there was somebody who was DMing me in the back end saying, I actually know the person who helped create the plan. They're a university, associated with a university. I I don't know if that matters. I don't know, except that if they have proof that Elon was the one who contributed to creation of the plan, which again, it's like, yeah, you're
Right,
the executive, you're negotiating with your company, and you're coming up with your own comp plan. It's normal for the two
right,
parties to agree to the structure of that comp plan. I'm
right,
like, I don't know a single comp plan that it was devised by the board and the CEO says, okay.
right.
They're gonna
That's
say,
the
well,
whole point.
no.
Right? No, I no. It's like, you make the first offer. You make the first offer. Everyone
Yeah.
says you make the first offer. That's and now we're saying how? Wait, he made the.
Yeah,
Oh,
this is the
come on.
ridiculousness of this whole thing, right? So you have a judge that's now saying that a company cannot have a comp plan. It's like, what?
That's not a
Now,
thing, you
it's not
guys.
a thing, right? Now, this thing about, well, I represent the shareholders, and the shareholders were duped because they weren't told, then it becomes very, it's just a technicality. And then it becomes, this is the very first time everybody else who's been reviewing this now, top lawyers, top executives, top people who know what's going on, everybody's pointing out they've never seen a case like this before.
Hmm.
And so the next step might be that they take it to Supreme Court in Delaware, the Delaware court. And apparently, people who know this matter says somebody who worked at Delaware court said, yeah, this was expedited in Delaware, and so it's probably going to be expedited to the Supreme Court, and so it will probably be appealed and it'll go away, or maybe, great, let's just go ahead and redo it. So I
Sure.
think the general sentiment is that this is it's just crazy that it's like it's never happened before. Like it's like some judge saying that that's something that happened years ago, and it's like rescinded. It's like okay,
And the idea that it's outrageous overlooks the fact that the milestones were impossible. It would
impossible.
require things to happen that have never happened
Yeah,
before in the automotive industry. And you and I know. Now, I didn't think these, I thought achieving all 12 tranches, definitely impossible. But if he can
yeah,
get half, I'll be a very happy investor. And guess
yeah.
what? Here,
Yeah,
I
he
mean,
hit all in 2.5 years, and it's like he didn't wasn't paid any money. You're a CEO
still
without any
hasn't.
salary, still hasn't for 7 years, and you only get paid performance based, like really 100% performance based, like zero unless you hit these milestones. And the milestones were very good milestones for, like you said, for us investors. I mean, he took the company from a $50 billion market cap to a 600, 700 billion, in fact, at one point, $1 trillion market cap company.
Mhm.
So it's like 50 billion, 10x. So us shareholders, how can you be upset that this even happened? Just ridiculous. So, now people are wondering if there's a political move here. This is Delaware, which is Biden. I don't know. This is getting a little bit crazy to think that way. No, but she is the same judge that forced Elon to buy Twitter at the expense of, $44 billion that he had to pay for. So there's now concern that she really is just anti-Elon.
It's possible. I don't know enough about the judge. I know at the time the Twitter acquisition, he had waived due diligence, so it looked like that was the correct decision, and he didn't take it all the way to court. I think, whatever. It doesn't matter. Water under the bridge. Guys, what did we miss? What do we misunderstand? Head over to Brighter and get that with Herbert. Everybody else, like, subscribe, do the usual. Stay tuned and juicy, and I cannot wait to hear from you clever robots on the flippity flop.